Oh boy, what a day it has been from the time we woke up this morning, from that rumor that Saturday was going to get released today, me thinking nothing of it, that probably wouldn't happen today, to recording that video with Warwick Smith, the Scale and Icy interview that's currently on the channel, editing that, and getting ready to export, and then as it was exporting, Saturday gets released at noon Eastern Standard Time, so we record the lesson video for that, we go live on the channel, and just so many things. And then in the background of all this, I was practicing for my jazz piano final I got tomorrow, which I'm super stressed about. And that's not even the rest of my day. My day is not over yet because there's still one more important thing we have to do, and that is we need to watch and listen to this interview that Tyler has done with Apple Music with the Zane Lowe. Zane Lowe is one of my favorite interviewers when it comes to music. He is such a great interviewer, and one of my favorite videos of 21 Pilots with an interview was Tyler and Zane when they were talking about the trench stuff. So I am super excited to listen to this, and these are just giving you my reactions to the interview, important takeaways, and yeah, let's get right into it. Of course, if you want to listen to the full thing or watch the full thing, it is on Apple Music, and you can just sign up for the free trial, then just stop it. I mean, that's what I'm probably going to do with it. But here is my reactions and the important takeaways from the Zane Lowe 21 Pilots Scale and Icy interview. 13 seconds in, part 1, and we got a spoiler for the album. So the very first lyric apparently we're going to hear off of Good Day is, "I can feel my saturation leaving me slowly." Tyler's background, and I wish I could take a screenshot of this, but Apple and MacBooks, if you screenshot this interview at all, it will just completely turn black and you won't be able to use it. So I just need to talk about what's in the background. So this is a different setup from where we've seen Tyler do all these interviews, such as the Q&A live stream and the A&E interview. He is somewhere else and or at a different part of the studio, but it also kind of looks like that it might be at the place where they're recording this live stream concert. And then also in the background, and this is a big thing for us bass players out there, Tyler got a 5-string bass. Who gave this man power? Tyler talks about how on Trench he was trying to reinvent the wheel of songwriting and do things that he hasn't done before. Try coming with all these new ways of writing songs. And when it comes to Scale and Icy, he's going back to the craft of songwriting. Good Day, in Tyler's words, is going to be different from every other first song on the album that we have ever gotten from them. So in Tyler's words, and unlike songs such as Jumpsuit, Ode to Sleep, as well as Heavy Dirty Soul, how it starts with this ominous low rumble and this ambiance, Tyler describes the song as lights gradually turning on like you're just entering a warehouse or a building, and then instead of this heaviness that kicks in like the Jumpsuit bass line, it's a piano riff, much like how, in Tyler's words, he imagined concerts used to start. The song Good Day, Tyler went to a very dark place to write the song. He just talked about him going to this mindset of what would happen if I lost everything, like if he lost his wife and if he lost his baby, and just what, and he would say that it's about like just trying to stay positive that first week and just trying to cope with that feeling of loss. And apparently in the chorus there is some talk of drinking and smoking, like hinting at in there, just to cope with this pain. This really dark place for a song called Good Day. Genuinely, when I watched that part, my mouth just dropped wide open. I'm like, oh, ow. And then Tyler says that Good Day is kind of like one of the 7 stages of grief, especially him and Zane both say denial. Zane just said, a father and a father to be, a father and the Tyler, is Josh pregnant again? Is Tyler gonna be another? Hold that. Oh. So then we go into Tyler talking about the family dynamic and how he had an argument with his father, saying that dads are the hardest workers. And how then Tyler went into like this little analogy that if he was a single guy and he would just like, he would have a lot more time to work on his craft and get a lot more done. However, he would burn out a lot more easier and probably not recover from burnout, asking more so like, what's the point of all this? And if he can't answer that question, then is it really worth it? But when Tyler with Jenna and Rosie, he can, if he's feeling any burnout, he can look at them and be like, oh, this is what I'm doing it for. This is why I do what I do, and like recover from that burnout a lot easier. And it's really nice, really nice story. It's fantastic. Tyler then went in to talk about becoming a father, and Zane asked him if it came naturally or if he did have to work on it. What Tyler basically said is that time when you figure out that you're going to become a parent, and that time up till the birth is the most stressful period ever, because you're wondering every single decision. Like, Tyler knew that he wanted to name Rosie, but he was very unsure until she was birthed, and he was very unsure about the name, whether he picked the right name. Will she get made fun of for? Will it in fact impact her life? But when Rosie was born, everything clicked. Apparently same thing with Jenna. And like when Rosie was born, Tyler's like, oh, that's Rosie. He put the name with the face, and everything after that became kind of like natural. When it happens sort of thing. Then Tyler talks about projection. Zane asks him how being a father has affected this album with songwriting purpose, and then Tyler goes a lot about projection, especially like the lessons you will learn like from doing concerts and like running through the rehearsal in your head before you even step foot in rehearsal, like making a set list. When it comes to the fact of, I don't think these two songs should be back to back, because I'll be running around stage like a maniac. This one, I don't think it's a good idea for me to be singing a nice calm piano thing, because I'll be so out of breath. And then he talks about that, and when it comes to being a father, like he's already planning to tell Rosie that she is pretty, even though she's 1 year old. Tyler is already planning to tell her she's pretty, and he had this moment to where he was took a video of her walking, and he for the first time showed it to Rosie, and then Rosie got super excited, like, hey, that's me. And then she got this concerned look over her face, as if like, wait, why is that me? Where is that me? Then Tyler connected that to, well, one day she's going to feel very insecure about herself, and it's Tyler's job to help her realize that she is beautiful, and that is such a sweet father thing to do. But he talks a lot about projection here, and Tyler's going to be such a great dad. Zane just dropped the quote, "You can't be authentic unless you're being true to yourself," which those words, especially for me, cut like a knife, and very powerful. Tyler then talks about timing and how fortunate his career is based on timing and when they blew up. And he mentioned before that a lot of people, when he would do interviews, would be like, man, it sucks that like you guys were just getting your ball rolling and then this pandemic happened and then you guys were stopping. But he talks about how it was fortunate enough that they started like getting big by the time him and Josh got their head on their shoulders, so to speak. And then how a lot of people ask him for younger musicians like us watching there, if you do play music out there or you do want to go into music, they ask Tyler for advice, and Tyler says that it has so much to do with the stars aligning that is so hard to give advice. For all the guitar people out there, Tyler got a Fender or Squier Mustang behind him in this light blue color. They then go into talk about how Tyler and Josh were recording in two separate locations, Tyler in Columbus, Josh in California. And Tyler talked about how they developed a sense of rhythm when it comes to using this remote technology and how they still might be using it throughout their entire career now. And they learned a lot from this remote technology. So like, Tyler was able to EQ Josh's drums in real time. Josh was able to take over Tyler's screen and mess around with settings, and it seemed like this nice collaborative process from two sides across from the country. And of course, the con that Tyler said that is the problem here is that it just took longer. So we got an interesting look on how Tyler writes his song. So Zane asked Tyler that he was expecting this album to double down and be like a downward spiral, being that usually Tyler locks away himself in this place after performing in front of thousands of people, like how he did for Trench, perform in front of that millions of people, then isolate himself in this tiny little bunker underneath the surface, if you will. And being that we've been in lockdown, or like in phases of lockdowns within the past year, and then Tyler was just stuck at home in his bunker, that Zane expected this to whole be a downward spiral, and the record, according to him, is very optimistic. Aside Tyler, he says he hasn't seen in a little bit. And Tyler talked about how a lot of songwriters will start with this very rough idea and then like just chisel away at like a pearl inside of a clam until they get to this one center idea. And Tyler talks about how he starts off with that pure idea, but then he has to wrestle with it. He has to stress it. He has to tear it apart a little bit to make it where it is in that 21 Pilots song. And he says with this album, he went a little bit light on it. So he had this pure idea, but he didn't stress it out too much. And it's just this lighter album, if you will. And it's a very interesting look in how he writes a song and how he starts out with that pure idea and then makes it into where he does his story. But how for this album, he kind of relaxes that process back a tiny bit. Tyler talks about grief at a few moments on this record. And Tyler leads into that about how he deals with grief. And it's basically that when his grandpa died or when his dad had a scare at the hospital, he would look at it like, all right, here's how many days I have left on this earth. I'm going to spread my grief out throughout all these days. I'm going to deal with it this much each day. So it's not like a letting go sort of thing. And it's a pretty interesting way of dealing with grief, Mr. Joseph. And Tyler ties his theory of dealing with grief into dealing how he dealt with the band blowing up, and how when it came to Stressed Out, that rise, how he was cool throughout the entire process because he used his grieving thing to deal with all these new pressures that have been associated with blowing up. And he said that that Trench was like a reaction to a Blurry Phase, kind of like a course correction, and Scale Nicely is like a reaction course correction to Trench, and how the next record we are getting next is a course correction reaction to Scale Nicely. But Tyler doesn't know where we're going next. Zane just brought up the P word, propaganda. Zane, being the great interviewer that he is, he listens, and he may have just cracked the whole Dima storyline right open. He asked Tyler that if possibly this whole storyline was Tyler leaning on his imagination to experience the things that he doesn't want to experience yet as Tyler. And Tyler just goes, yeah. Then Tyler calls this now a therapy session and goes back into something we hear in Bandito, created this world to feel some control. And Tyler talks about how he created this world to feel some control, much like in Bandito. Tyler then gives huge praise to the fan base and how he feels he is so fortunate to get a fan base with him and Josh, a fan base that actually cares about them, a fan base that cares about what they do, but also very fortunate that it's a fan base that isn't relying on them being there, that they can continue and create this whole thing on their own sort of thing. And just the highest of praise from Tyler, high praise from Papa. Tyler then talks about listening to other people's music and how he has a lot of respect when you can feel that feeling of that this song took a while to make and how they've slaved over the song for such a while. Yeah, sure, there's songs that just roll off the tongue and they're pretty good, but Tyler gives mad respect every time he listens to a song, and there's that sense of, oh, I've worked really hard on this, here's my little baby, and Tyler really appreciates it. When Tyler is feeling happy, he likes to put on Ben Folds and Billy Joel because of that piano stuff. I have a jazz piano final tomorrow, manifest that good energy. So when Tyler's feeling down, I know I'm going to mispronounce this, Tyler says he listens to a lot of Sudaros, I think. Anathema, Amatha, Sudaros. if you've heard of this band, let me know down in the comment section below and maybe give me some songs to check out, because I would love to listen to them. Sure, it might bring me down, but I'm very curious. Apparently, Tyler put this song on for Rosie when she was crying, and Rosie immediately quit crying, and he told Jenna about it. She didn't believe him. Then they did it again, and she believed him and saw that Rosie did in fact follow along with this Sugaro's bands. And then Tyler talked about just that power of music. Also, side notes, me and Tyler have the same pair of headphones. He uses these Sony's MDR7506s in the interviews, and I love these headphones too. Not sponsored by them or anything, just really good headphones, especially if you want to do music or produce and write music inside of any kind of program. So nice. Love these. And Tyler loves them too. He still has the trench era tape all around them. Mulberry Street people, this is for you, because now Zane asked Tyler about Mulberry Street. Quoting Zane, "It's one of my favorite songs on the album. Why is it one of my favorite songs off the album?" So, Mulberry Street isn't the place in Columbus where Choker was being very close to filmed by. This isn't the Dr. Seuss book. This is actually a street in Little Italy. And Tyler talks about this song, just a reimagining, trying to get that feeling of being far away from home. Because when he went to Little Italy in New York, it was when him, Josh, and I believe he said his manager went into New York, got some pizza there, and that was one of the first times he was ever out of Columbus, Ohio, first time out of the States. So it was just, Mulberry Street is that sense of, you're not in Kansas anymore, Toto, that sort of thing. He just brought up Clancy is dead. And then Zane takes this into talking about multiple writer's block, like already writer's block when it comes to songwriting, and writer's block when it comes to this story of Dima and all thing, and how Tyler like deals with this multiple writer's block and these payoff for these characters. And Tyler talked about the Matrix effect. And no, it's not the Matrix effect where we're all living in a simulation. Tyler is mainly talking about like the Matrix movie, like how are they flying through the air and like doing all these slow motion stuff and dodging these balls by like doing that weird arm thing, like leaning backwards. Well, they're in the Matrix, so it's possible. And Tyler associates his songwriting into the Dima world. Like it gives him an excuse of like, here's what we're able to do because it's happening within the Matrix, which is a very freeing feeling of Tyler can do whatever he wants because it's all happening within this Matrix of Dima. And Zane asked him, why didn't Tyler just write a script or a book or a comic book? And Tyler just responds, yeah, I might do that. Words to live by when it comes to creation with Tyler Joseph, whether it is an art piece or whether it's music. If you have an idea, lean into it. Get on stage at the Grammys in your underwear. My best Zane impression immediately after that quote. And Tyler then takes his idea into when he's getting any kind of like picture taken, especially for like any passports or state ID, driver's license sort of thing. They'll tell you, just look straight on, and like then the idea is just to make it unique, something interesting happening every time. Tyler described, just look straight on, sir. And Tyler leaned in just a little bit, just as his whole funny story. He can look at his friend and be like, hey, remember the time I did this? Which I'm definitely going to use next time I get my driver's license picture taken. Look straight on, sir. No, that's too creepy. That's too creepy. And then they went. Zane says, when this story is done, and Tyler interrupts. One more record. There is one more record in the Dima storyline. That is huge and amazing. I don't think I'm ready. Like I'm saying I don't think I'm ready, even though we're getting Scale Nights this Friday. And earlier in my live stream, I talked about, listen, if they do come out with this album for some reason later this fall or early next year, I will be happy, but I'm not that greedy in the sense of I'm lucky we're getting one album this year. And I was saying to Matthias, one of my lovely admins in the JLAndersonMusic Discord server, that if this is true, that I wish it happens in 50 years, because I just want to live in this demo world for a little bit more. And it's like, I knew about like this particular quote all day. However, it means a lot different hearing it from the word of the person who created it. One more record. That let's just continue. And I breathe a huge sigh of relief, because as I hit end on the last recording, I was like, wait, one more for the storyline or one more for TOP altogether? And Tyler did confirm, no, just one more in this book that we call Dima, and then we'll move on to a different sort of story. 21 Pilots is not stopping. Think of this as like an author comes up with a book, you got just like volume 1, 2, it's like the Hunger Games, you got these volumes for Dima, and like, so Blurry Face would be the first Hunger Games book. Then we get Catching Fire, the Mockingjay Part 1, Skill Nicely, and Mockingjay Part 2 is this final book. Is the first book just called The Hunger Games? It's been a while. Let's continue. So Tyler is currently creating for the next record already, which he expresses, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, how it could be concerning, because he wonders if he gave everything in his all for Scale and Icy. However, he considers it a good thing because he is still creating music. He's still busting out this music, and how he's not burnt out. Also, side note, back to the instrument thing, there's an acoustic guitar on his back table, so, and there's his keyboard in the back, and I know a lot less about synths. It looks like a Moog, but just this acoustic guitar and this ukulele in the background also got my eyes wide open. Then Zane and Tyler talk about when concerts open up again, whether Tyler is going to wait for and like tie Scale Nicely to their live tour and not put out any more music before then, or possibly release this new album before they go on tour. Like, let's say 2022, for example. That's what they give in the interview. Say they got the phone call in 2022 saying, hey, gates are open, let's go on tour. Tyler is not sure if he wants to, and like, he's ready for both routes of, we're just going to have Scale Nicely, this new album, we're just going to take that album on tour. He's also prepared for the fact of, here's this new record and Scale Nicely, let's tour them both. He's preparing for both situations. And Tyler ends the interview with him going to be a good father again. Him saying that his focus right now is on Rosie, and how he was very fortunate within the past year of, like, all of us being locked down. He was very fortunate to be with Rosie in the first year of her life and watching her grow up, and the fact that Rosie has already recognized that Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and the ABCs are the same exact melody, and that she'll change them up, and he's just super hyped, and like, he'll tell Jenna that she has pitch, she is going to do some great things, and Tyler basically just wants to show Rosie all the things he's doing right now, and just show her that you can dream big and just never give up on your dreams. And Tyler's gonna be such a great dad. He's gonna be a fantastic father. And that was the entire interview with Zane Lowe on the Apple Music store, Apple Music interviews, and it is a absolutely fantastic interview, definitely worth that 50-minute watch time. I loved every single moment of it, and it is, like I said, such a great interview. And these are just like a couple of things I've picked up. Like, I genuinely watched everything from start to finish. I started at 11. It's now 12:14 a.m. and I may have missed out on some things here and there, but that was basically the answers to some of the questions. That was the answers, some of the highlights, in my opinion. Like, we figured out what Mulberry Street is in this sense of like a songwriting standpoint. We got a little dive into Tyler's songwriting process, and how Tyler, the biggest highlight of this interview for me is just how great of a human being Tyler Joseph is, and how much of a great father he is going to be. And it's, if you have Apple Music, or if you just want to go get the free trial and just watch this, highly recommend. Definitely worth the sit down 50 minutes just to enjoy and watch this. So now I'm gonna go down and get a little snack because I'm a little bit hungry. Gonna edit this video together, go to sleep, wake up early, and grind at this piano project. Hearing piano all during this video kind of made me stress out a little bit, but 21 Pilots plays good piano and I am playing jazz, which is good piano also, just not, I'm just burnt out by jazz at the moment. But anyway guys, if you watched the interview, let me know what you think of it down in the comments section below. And yeah, I'll see you later on today with another video, because I anticipate later on today there's going to be another upload, because I'm probably going to be uploading multiple videos a day till the album comes out, and I'm hyped. I'm super hyped. Anyway guys, I'll see you later. Goodbye and good night, but more importantly, have a good day. See you later.